I am a practical software engineer and I have a motto: if I'm not gonna use it, I'm not gonna learn it. And the same goes for data structures and algorithms as well, but we'll talk about that next time. And to be honest, I really hate data structures and algorithms. Not because they are boring, I mean, some of them kinda are, but I think it's the thought of learning them but not actually using them. But don't get me wrong, solving some lead code problems is fun. I just think it's impractical. What's practical for me is building real world projects and applying just a few data structures. And what are those few data structures? Let's talk about them. I think this is the most important one. So think of an array as a container that holds elements in a specific order. So in real world, these elements are usually data that come from the server. For example, I have in my database a list of cities in the Philippines. So when I query this, I'll get an array that contains all the cities, which I can then render on my front end. Let's say you have an address form and you have a city field. You can take this cities array and use it as the selection for your dropdown, just like this. So just remember, array is a container that holds elements and they are in a specific order. Just useful for like you have a data, you have different kinds of data, but they are simple data, right? So yeah, array is good on that. So the term hash map is commonly used in lower level languages like C and C++. It is called object in JavaScript and dictionary in Python. So the idea of an object is unlike array where we only have a single value per position. An object lets us have a key and a value. So this is crucial for giving a label to your value. So like for example, you have some user data. So if we put them inside an array, it would look like this. So it kind of makes sense for a simple data, right? Just like what I said for array. But what if we add his, let's say, favorite number? Now, what does 20 and 17 even mean, right? We cannot assume if 20 is his age or 17 is his age or what his favorite number is. So to make this right, it's even better if we use an object where each data has a label or an object, we call them key. Like for age, right? We can explicitly say that 20 is an age, 17 is the favorite number, name is James, birthday, favorite language, right? So this is useful for a data. And we can actually combine the two. We can actually combine array and a hash map or an object where we can, let's say, for example, we can have an array with objects in it or a mix of an integer, a string, an object, or even inside an array is another array. And inside that, we can have object, right? We can have different kinds of data structure inside a data structure. A set is like an array, but without duplicates. So this is perfect when you just want to store unique values. Let's say you are trying the programming language your users are using. If three users select JavaScript, Python, and again JavaScript, so a regular array would give you something like this: JavaScript, Python, and JavaScript. In array, this is valid, so we can have duplicates in an array. But a set will just give you JavaScript and Python because JavaScript is there's already an instance of JavaScript, so that's why it didn't include the JavaScript, the last JavaScript. Okay, so it automatically filters out duplicates, and you don't have to write an extra logic. You don't have to iterate through an array and rewrite them inside an array and then check that new array if there's already an instance of that item, right? So you don't have to write those extra logic. And yeah, this is very handy when you are cleaning data or making filters, making sure that you expect unique values. All right. So a stack, it is a data structure that follows the LIFO principle. If you don't know what LIFO is, it means last in, first out. So think of it like a pile of plates. So the last one you put on top, that's the first one you take out, right? You might ask, what is the significance of this? So let's say, for example, this is a simple real world example, the undo and redo functionality, right? So like every time a user does an action, it goes into a stack. Just think of an imaginary stack, or think of the pile of plates where each plate is the user action. And when, let's say, a user hit the undo button, so what you're just gonna need is you just pop the last action or the last plate. You just take out the last plate from the stack and reverse it. Same goes for, let's say, web history or web browsing history. So if you move back one page, so that's the, you're just popping the latest page from your history stack, right? So if you swipe from left to right, so you are gonna get the previous page, right? If you swipe another one, so you are going 2 page further, okay? So that's stack. And the last one is queue. So a queue is kind of like a stack, but I think the opposite, and it follows the FIFO principle. While in stack, it follows LIFO principle. This one, it follows FIFO principle. And the meaning of FIFO is first in, first out. Okay? So in the example of pile of plates, so instead of you taking the topmost plate, you will take the first one. Okay? And it's actually kind of opposite because it's not a stack actually. It is queue. Like it is horizontally lined up instead of vertically. So let's say, for example, imagine you're lining up at a coffee shop. So the first person who gets in line is the first one to get served, right? So that is queue. Or maybe you are about to withdraw in an ATM and there's a line. So the first one who is closer to the ATM will get to withdraw first, okay? So now, in programming world, this is useful when you want to process things in order. Like, for example, a list of notifications, right? So when your backend sends new notifications, they're going into a queue. Then your front end displays them one by one, right? So from oldest to newest. Or let's say, for example, think about printing documents, right? So when you are printing documents, you don't want the last file you sent to print first, right? You want to print in order. They were added to the queue. So that is queue. And yeah, so queue is all about, fairness, first come, first serve, that stuff, right? And yeah, I think these are the 5 most useful. These are the 5 data structure that in real world you're gonna encounter a lot. Having a basic knowledge about this or even mastering these 5 data structures will give you a good advantage in coding career, regardless if it's back end or it's front end.